We're ready to go.
The chief's got things to do.
Yeah. Chief does.
We're ready. Oh.
Welcome to the June 6th Rotary meeting.
Behind you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My
Country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring.
Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who bringeth forth bread from the earth. Amen.
Amen.
Be seated, please. Past President Frank, we have the Secretary's report.
Absolutely. Senior agent's gotten all discombobulated here. Where to look. But today we have 12 members, and we have 2 guests. And Dominic, past President Dominic, can you introduce one of our
Yes, I'm happy to introduce for the second time, he did sooner, and he is now going to be inducted into our club at our next meeting. He will be an official Rotarian. So welcome.
Welcome.
And Murray, can you introduce our speaker and guest, or maybe just the brief introduction now, the full introduction?
Really brief.
He'll let us know everything.
Really,
we want to know about.
really brief. Really brief.
Yeah, it was about a half hour.
Oh.
Chief Derek Sencabaugh, pleasure to have you with us today, and we'll be hearing from Chief Sencabaugh a little bit later on.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's a great note. Let's follow instructions.
I'm gonna bring a pillow.
The welcome song. Yes, I will lead the welcome song. Rotarians, please rise. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3.
We welcome you to Lexington to meet with us today. Our door is always open to our friends in Rotary. We're glad to have you with us, and we hope you'll come again to Rotary Lexington. We all say welcome visiting Rotarians. Welcome all you non-Rotarians. Welcome to our club in Lexington. We hope you'll come again.
Fines and happy dollars. That's Michelle. You have something?
I do. I want to actually find 3 people in the room. And Alan, you were looking for proof. The video that Danny takes is wonderful proof of the 3 of you being set. Doug got up and thanked all 3 of you for volunteering.
I think he was
So that's-
hallucinating.
No, that's not true. You all said, just pay your money. All 3. Pay my money. Now you 3 pay your money.
How much did they pay?
They charge. I was charged $20. I
Would you
think
explain what we did?
paid
Would you
$20.
explain what we did?
No.
It doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
I second the motion. Long as I'm
Okay.
involved.
Okay.
I second the motion then.
I'm not
We
going
paid
back to
$5.
that.
Okay.
5.
A 5?
Oh my God, I paid 20 and I wasn't even here that day.
Alan,
That's
she put out 20. Why
But we weren't wearing any Lions apparel.
would you go down to 5
No,
when you put the
but
20 out?
Who took the
You're a lousy banker. You always get the more money.
I'm involved in this fine.
Can you
Oh, that's
picture
why.
of me not in Lions apparel, please?
I'll pay you 20.
Yeah, oh, good.
20.
All right, Alan, you got a coffee?
Look at Alan, he got a heart attack. Look at this. He's shaking.
We needed the 50-50 to be a little bit more money.
Just take it out of the 50-50.
Past President Dan.
Yes. Thank you. Cleve, I'm just gonna pay $20. I was not able to make it to comedy night because my wife has been battling Meniere's disease. People are familiar with it, and it's a very debilitating thing when the attacks happen. And they usually happen in the evening, so I'm trying not to be out in the evening because she really needs help when she has it done. But I understand it went over really well, and congratulations to the club and to the committee that ran it. It earned some money for the club, and we're hoping that we'll be able to do something similar to that, maybe with some different modifications next year. Thank you.
Thank you, and thoughts and prayers for your wife. Thoughts and prayers for your wife.
Thank you.
I'm also sorry that I could not attend comedy night. We were very busy, but I do have a suggestion. Every week when I buy raffle tickets, all I get from Alan is bitter complaints that I don't have the correct change.
Usually a $100 bill.
And what I would like to propose is that we have him set up a credit card account so we can pay him by credit card every week.
Pay me, you're not paying me. But thank you for your donation.
Thank you for your suggestion.
And that's a lot of work for the treasurer, so
We'll,
unless you want to become the treasurer, I would watch it.
I withdraw the motion.
The board will take that up in
Yeah.
about 5 years.
Anybody else?
Anybody
Mr.
else?
President? Seeing how this is my
Chief.
second meeting in a month,
And we're happy to have
I
you.
have $20.
Wow.
I learned my lesson the first time, so I just actually had a graduation party for my 2 kids that graduated college this
Wow.
year.
Wow.
So I spent the weekend. I too have $20, just because we had a great comedy night. I thought it was really nice. It was fun, it was comfortable, and next year even better.
Great.
Thank you. Mr. Dominic.
I also have 20 happy dollars. Johnny was really good because at the last minute, he put that team together literally in a few hours for us. And so part of that is that. And also for past President Murray for a nice, concise introduction.
You have to build on it for that.
He's not done yet, though.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Past President Dan, can I see him?
Yeah, 1 second.
1 second.
Post $100
Tabulating.
before you introduce.
I also have 20 happy dollars for a great comedy night. And just so the club knows, our net intake was $5,580. So not too bad throwing it back together after a 2-year hiatus. You know, we were missing some people. We don't want to mention any names, but the fire department didn't show up. And the police didn't show up. Yeah, I had another cancel. So we actually had 30. Good timing.
That's the police chief.
So the next time we should speak,
I
they'll have a
better
fire.
take another one home. But all in all, I think it went great. The venue at the museum was awesome, and I think we want to continue that. It really was just a nice atmosphere in there. The way we did it was nice. Everybody had a chance rather than sit down dinners. Everyone was up and about and mingling with each other. So I thought it worked out really well. So I think we'll try and do that again, and with maybe a little tweaks, we can get the numbers back up again. But other than that, everything went really well, and we were happy about that. Thanks.
Anything else? Well, then I'll end up with it. I want to give happy dollars, first class fire chief, for everything he does for the town. I think I probably met you back when you were a lieutenant. I think we probably got 128 where something was happening out there, car ticket.
All I remember is dogs.
But it's always a comforting feeling. When I first saw him, I said, here's a guy who's got his act together, he's gonna go places, and obviously he did, but it's always a comforting feeling when something's going on, when you see him show up, and his crew show up, and then members of the fire department show up, very professional, They have an outstanding paramedic program, which is going to get into, but just want to give happy dollars to our fire chief and also to all our members. This is my second to last meeting, but I want to thank all of you. I thanked my board earlier, but like I said, it's not about me, it's about Rotary, a very supportive board who helped me through it all, but all the membership too here were all very helpful, so I want to give happy dollars also to everybody for that. Thank you. Thank you. So on to business, I'll be very, very brief with that. I want to thank the scholarship committee for all they did for the scholarship awards there, helping our future leaders in our country as far as moving on to college with that. So everybody who worked so hard on the scholarship committee, John O'Donnell, thank you so much for what you do every year. Ann Olson, thank you. Anybody else? I know everybody kind of helped out. Alan, thank you so much for what you did with that. Also want to thank, we just had Comedy Day, outstanding group there. We all had a good time, so I want to thank the committee who helped out with the comedy night, and also everybody else who chipped in as far as helping out the front desk, selling tickets, making sure everything was comfortable in there, the food was good, facilitating that, coming in and out, the food and the alcoholic beverages. One of the things I want to keep going the next term, we talked about Jack Maloney having a permanent honor or memorial for him. There's been some conversation that we have had regarding that. Dan Booz is going to actually meet with his family later in the week or next week as far as their thoughts on that. It's something we want to keep going as far as getting a more permanent memorial for Jack with that. So it's something that we'll continue to work on, and any thoughts anybody else has as far as members. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had mentioned to Dan before, and I hope it comes before the committee, the board of directors. When I was chairman of the scholarship award, I had recommended that we give each scholarship in honor or memory of a member. It's something that we can do to recognize many different Rotarians who've since passed. And it's a golden opportunity. If we give out 8 scholarships, what's wrong with saying this is the Jack Maloney Memorial Scholarship and give it to a particular person? And I think that's a way of perhaps memorializing quite a few numbers of the members of our club.
We did discuss that, actually. We have been discussing that to do it for next year, because they were already giving out this year scholarships. So we did talk about it to do it next year, so we will talk more about that during the board meetings.
And that's
Thank you.
That's almost a given. We'll be able to do that very, very easily. Just moving on, we want to have something. Basically, that's kind of all I had. Like I said, I want to thank everybody there for their help. Rotarians, anything else you want to add on that to the meeting? Easy. Okay. We didn't really talk about the raffle. Do we have a raffle items?
Oh, raffle, yes.
You could just announce them.
We can. We have, let's see, we have Bickling Financial, we have Arlex, we have Eagle Bank donating today. We don't have a lot of raffle tickets, but. What color? Blue. 699.
Oh.
What would you like?
What you got?
All right, we got an Arlex mitt. We have a Lilacs flashlight, we have a Bickling drink, and an Eagle pen.
Eagle pen.
Done.
Thanks.
Next ticket. 702.
Oh, that's mine.
Oh, congratulations. Would you like the, oh, you already got the Eagle pen. What would you like?
No, okay.
Don't give her the other mitt, she will not do with it.
That's what I'll do with
Is that
it.
fine?
Go pick something, okay?
Now she wants a knife.
I actually heard him doing that with a napkin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
I went like that with a napkin and it went.
Next ticket.
Jesus.
698. Which one, Murray? The flashlight or the cup?
I'll take the flashlight.
Flashlight it is.
Yep. You gotta give it to the chief, he's gonna need it.
Flashlight. 696. And heading to you.
That's rude.
Congratulations. Give that to the chief.
Oh, jeez.
If you see this on the news coming out.
Right, yeah. Station, like I said, what did you promise them?
Yeah.
Oh, yours, great. Thank you, Alan. Speaker introduction. Murray, I know it's come from several members.
Briefly,
Murray, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Lee. No wonder the fire department is so well endowed, they keep on getting gifts. That's it. Anyhow, we have today with us Chief Sencabaugh, and I had trouble getting in touch with the chief. He's so busy, so I had to get his file, couldn't get it. So I told him what my problem was. He said, I know, I'd be really, really busy, and I understood. So I kind of developed it myself. So what I'm going to do, Chief, is I'm going to give it to you. You can use it for other people.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's it. That's
Yeah, and if you need it, if you, in the future, edit it or re-edit it, I'm going to very good gift. So, anyhow, it's a pleasure to have Chief Sencabaugh with us today. He has been with the Lexington Fire Department since 1995. And in 2000, as a retired by the town of Lexington, as a firefighter, period. There's a lot of work we already know, but he's moved up. And in 2001, he became lieutenant. And then he was captain and shift commander and training officer from 2012 to 2016. And then Chief Sencabaugh became our assistant fire chief at the department from 2016. He came, and that was until 2019. And then on April 30th, 2019, Derek Sencabaugh became our Lexington Fire Department chief. And he has been with us, I've got 27 plus years, am I correct? You're correct. I added that up too far. So every year you
I might take you on the circuit.
Yeah, exactly. Every year you get touch with me and I'll say it's 28. Anyhow, Chief Sencabaugh, we'd love to have you with us.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So maybe I could have just handed you this, but because I know I dropped the ball on that and get back to you, so it was my apologies for that. So, but you provide fantastic. So, all right, thank you. All right, I appreciate it. So that's why I think we're working well together. So, but yeah, it was kind of the same thing. Like, there's a lot of faces that I have seen, and just some of the names and things like that around. Obviously, I've known Lee pretty much since the beginning of my time on the job when he was with the state police, and that part of it. So once again, thank you for coming in. As you were saying, I was appointed in August of 1995 to be a lieutenant. Shortly thereafter, as a lieutenant, I was also a fire investigator, and then that became up. In 2019, Chief Wilson left in January, and I was appointed acting chief at the time until April when it was made permanent. Since then, I have gone out and got myself a lot of different, certifications and training through the National Fire Academy and the Collins Center at UMass, and different things along the way. So I'm just going to kind of give like an overview, a little bit of the department and what we do, and then at the end, if you guys have any specific questions, just feel free to kind of bring it out. But when I had the luck, I think it was the second week of being chief, of increasing the department staffing up from 12 to 15. The chiefs of all the surrounding towns couldn't believe that within 2 weeks I just came in and elevated the staffing, but that staffing allowed us to add a second full-time ambulance in town. We had been running one ALS ambulance probably since back in 2000, right around 2000. We had been providing paramedic service out of headquarters, and then we did, as time progressed, we started upping the second ambulance service with daytime priorities and things like that, where we weren't really sure putting it on 24/7. So in 2019, right after I became chief, I had the pleasure of implementing that second ambulance to become an ALS ambulance, and that has been stationed down in East Lexington ever since, and it really allows us to provide some great medical care and coverage townwide, and not have to rely as much on surrounding communities to come in and provide assistance. We still do have to have it, but the numbers that we're able to do is cut down, and being that it's ALS, it's the highest level of care you can get in an ambulance in the state, which they can do everything from cardiac, IVs and cardiac medications and different things, and they can put trachs into you for breathing issues, and there's a lot of different skills and levels that they really make a difference every day to the citizens of Lexington. At headquarters, obviously we have the new building, but we run one engine, one ladder, an ambulance, and the shift commander is out of there. All department business also handles out of fire headquarters on 45 Bedford Street. The East Lexington station is an engine and an ambulance, with no business being up there, for day-to-day stuff. Our staffing is, right at this point, is 64 total. We have 2 civilian staff members that work for us as well. Myself as the chief, I have an assistant chief of training in EMS, and then I also have an assistant chief of fire prevention and a fire inspector that come under him. Of the 54 of us, not us, but 54 of the fire department are paramedics. So as we hire only paramedics coming in. So what's great is eventually there'll be just no, there were certain groups that no matter who puts their hands on you, there's going to be a paramedic. So if it's just the 2 in the ambulance, or if you're really in bad shape or different things, it allows us to really just, everybody can jump in and they're all at the same level of care, so that works out really well. We average about 4,300 calls a year, 2,300 of which are EMS related. So the other 43, that isn't any service type calls, that's not inspections or any of those type of things. So that would be any other type of calls through 911 for any type of emergencies. As I said, back in October of 2020, we moved into the new fire station, which many people have not been able to even see to this date, but we are open now for business, which is nice, and we are able to allow people to come and take a look around, but we've never had any real formal event. Every time we plan on it, something, either the sicknesses kick up or different reasons like that. For something, obviously, that the improvement of that building was, we went from 12,000 square feet, 3-story building, 3-bay building, that when it got cloudy out, flooded. The videos were real, the stories were real, all back during town meeting and everything like that. It was, I remember when I got hired on the job, walking down the stairs into the basement, there was an oar, flippers, and a life jacket. And it would always just said no lifeguard. And it was just like, you just never knew until the first time it rained, and then the water would come up out of the floor. Which is nice is when we're hiring people, we don't have to have them see that coming forward, as we have no basement in that building. We've gone to 4 bays across the front, they're all double depth, which is nice. The driveway is also, as you can see, is a lot further set back. It allows, before our ladder truck, when it came out the door, was actually out into Bedford Street, so it blocked the sidewalks and things like that going along. So it's really improved the ability and for us to really kind of deliver the service that we need to deliver. The back of the building has a high in the center, you can see. It looks like a tower, which it is. It's a training facility that's built on the inside of the fire station, which allows us, since we've used up all the space on the outside of the property, it allows, we have a training mezzanine in the garage, a whole second floor with concrete walls and windows and ladder hatches and manhole covers and all kinds of different training props that we can use inside, rain, sleet, snow, day and night. So that's been a real great improvement for us. It is the first state-of-the-art. That's probably Chief McLean.
He was invited.
I know. I get the support from him all the time. But it is a state-of-the-art, first all-electric firehouse in the country. It's actually architects and different companies in different towns have come, and they're actually starting to come from other parts of the country to come up and look at it. How it all works, that's kind of above my scope. But it has won awards in Firehouse, Station Design Award for Career Firehouse. It was the #1 gold after its completion, which was a nice recognition for the town. And it is solar ready. I believe this is going to be, they have made the decision that this is going to be the first building in town that they're going to completely solar, they're going to own all the equipment going forward. So that will hopefully be built up pretty soon, and so we can start gaining the benefits of all the solar on the roof. One of the nice things for some of the historical people is we were able to incorporate our 1911 American LaFrance fire engine, which is in the front left corner when you're looking at the station from the front building. There's a small little garage off the side with glass doors and windows, and in there is the 1911 American LaFrance, which Johnny Carroll had been storing in a convex box for about 10 years up on his property. It is the very first fire engine the town of Lexington owned that was a mechanical fire engine, and we've never lost it, so it's come under the Historical Society. But it's really nice. We just actually had it detailed and polished up 2 weeks ago. We just got it back. So it has its nice place. It can stay there forever. It's underlit and everything, and it's open in the front lobby for public to be able to come in and see it. So kind of that's just a little bit of the overview of it. So now, since being chief, obviously, like I said, I got my feet wet, and I think it was in November of 19, we went to what they call the District 4 Health tabletop in Burlington with like 12 other communities, and we talked about this phantom pandemic that we were going to have to vaccinate mass groups and everything, and we talked about this just as a tabletop in, I think it was October or November, and then come into January and February, we started seeing the signs of what was soon to come. For us as a town, we kind of lost out. We lost our health director early on. The health director we had kind of just up and decided to have a different career choice for the different community. And then obviously hiring, as we're all finding now, hiring, no matter what business you're in, is incredibly difficult. But trying to get health staff was incredibly difficult for the town. In all cities and towns, everybody was being pulled out of retirement. We had David Nealon, town nurse, and then myself as the emergency management director for the town. What we ended up doing is kind of collaborated with the town of Arlington and Belmont's health departments, and we kind of used them as the like our sounding board on how to get things done. And we were tasked originally early on was to kind of figure this whole problem out. You know, if you kind of think back to that day, it was doom and gloom, every single day. Everything shut down, and it was, we didn't shut down, my phone didn't shut down, the conversations at midnight with the town nurse and different things, the managers and stuff, it was, you just, at the time, I can still remember the first day we started getting out of a group home in town. We got somebody, and the crews walked in unprotected, and then it was just like, it was that soon into it, and then it was like, an hour later, we were back for somebody, and it was like the whole group home got it, and then the staff started, and we now knew we were in big trouble. So, I mean, this town survived pretty well, but we did have, pretty good loss of life early on. I think it was somewhere around 50, if my memory is correct, kind of early on during the pandemic, some of the sick and elderly that had passed through it. But some of the positives were, it was, without direction, and people can remember that even, you remember probably now listening, the direction that actually comes out of the federal government and or the state government in that whole beginning was, one day we were running left, the next day we were running right. And then everything we did the day before was wrong, and then we did, and then we were all gonna die from it, and then it was just the stuff that was going on. So it became a big priority, was obviously for vaccinating. So working with the health department in Arlington, in Belmont, and what was left of Lexington's, we managed to work together as a collaborative. And we did vaccinations. We took care of all the congregate living in town through the fire department. We had applied early on for a waiver from the state before they granted it to everybody to allow our paramedics to do vaccinations and testing. We signed on to that as a department really early on. And then we ended up providing all the paramedics for the vaccination clinics, even in Arlington and Belmont. The early part, we were the only fire department that stepped in, and we just had droves of my staff volunteering to be part of this vaccination process. After we set up Arlington and we did all the staff, obviously police and fire and everything along those lines, school nurses, teachers, were all in that kind of that first round. And then after we managed to get that, we started dealing with the senior citizen population, and we worked with Lexington Housing, and what we did is we set up clinics at Greeley, Countryside, and Pinewood, and brought all the vaccinations to the people there, and then we ended up partnering up a little bit with their pharmacy towards the end as well. So that worked out really well, and then we found out after that was, once we thought we were doing real well with it, is that we had a whole bunch of homebound people in town, a lot of people that couldn't make the clinics. So what we did is we developed a team between Human Services, Senior Center, and paramedics from my department, and what we did is we created lists, and then what we did is we sent out teams of 2 around town, and we just made appointments and went from house to house and took care of anybody that we could find that had reached out, which was, I think, was a really good program that we were pretty proud of. In the beginning, as I've said at select board meetings and town meeting at the beginning, was before this pandemic started, we had 5 probably years worth of PPE equipment for us, and within the first month of the pandemic, we were out of it. So between, Cal was a very big supporter early on in our quest to try to find equipment. It was nice, the crafts with all their flying to China and came back with N95s that were like N19s. So it was just kind of, it was, early on it was like everybody was putting their names or numbers on things, but it worked. We eventually caught up, and it did work out very well. And so if anybody does need any masks or testing, we have that ability now, which is kind of funny. Community outreach, this is now beyond the pandemic type talk, is the fire department. We provide a Knox box program. We got a grant through the Dana Home, and what we did is we purchased 100 residential Knox boxes. I think I was the assistant chief when I applied for that grant, and we got it, which was nice. We bought, so they're the key boxes that we put on houses, so we don't have to break someone's door down. I remember buying 100 of them thinking we'll never go through them, and I think we have 70 of them on houses right now. They get recycled, as people move out or different things, but we're up to, I believe, 70 on houses, and they still go. Senior smoke detectors as well. So any of you that are in the real estate business know certain houses, the older houses they can still have the battery smoke detectors. The problem is usually you go in there, there is yellow, or they're the size of hubcaps, and they were built in the 70s and they're no longer any good. So we have a program that we hear through Senior Services, or we would go in on a medical aid onto somebody's house if we notice them. What we'll do is we'll schedule to go back. The lieutenant that I have that does the Knox boxes will go back and reinstall new smoke detectors, and that we get donated through the Dana grant as well. We have a partnership with, it's actually Senior Services, ourselves, police, and the state police, is for memory impaired residents. There's certain bracelets that we have that have a trackability on them. That we have, it almost looks like Lost in Space technology. It looks like a hand gripper with tin foil and little rods on it, and you walk around and it can walk you right up to some of these people that have walked away from their homes and got lost, as long as they have a bracelet on them or some of their gear. Through the state, we have a SAFE program where we get into, every year we get into every first grade class in the town and provide some fire safety classes, escape drills, getting out of houses, different things, and then allowing the kids to see what we look like when we're all dressed up. To them, it's very intimidating. To some, it's very cool. But for them to be able to see us in their environment, it takes off. So the last thing, you want as a kid to be hiding from you if we're going in the house looking for somebody. So to allow the kids to see us, it seems to be a very big hit. We've been doing that since I think I got on the job. Then we rolled that into a Senior Safe program. Where we visit with the senior center and different things. We have talks and lectures and games that we play with some of the senior citizens in town. Just some more fire safety programs. In the last couple of years, we've rolled out more of a community CPR. We're now training all the departments in town that request it. So we do the library yearly. Public Works, the Police Department, I believe the Community Center. We're doing CPR programs, training, and Stop the Bleeding. You know, unfortunately now you kind of have to have that program that's kind of wrapped together, which basically shows people how to use tourniquets and things like that, so in the event of ever having to deal with a mass shooting or anything like that. We do continue to do regular just school visits, and we participate in Discovery Day every year. If Mike was here, this is where I could now look to him with fondness in my eyes and say that we have a great partnership with the police department. We have a joint fire investigation team, which is made up of detectives from his department as well as fire investigators from mine. And we partner with the Mass State Police, who provide the fire investigators through the fire marshal's office. And we also participate with different groups here in town as well for crisis intervention, at risk, police and fire here in Lexington. So we do active shooter drills. We train all the time with them now. I've gotten grants over the last 4 years to outfit every position in the Lexington Fire Department with ballistic equipment, which I don't think when I was 13 years old thinking I was going to be a fire chief, I was going to have to worry about that. But so we end up having to get vests with plates, helmets, flashlights, tourniquets, and all this rescue equipment that we end up needing, because we're not traditionally bringing in our regular first aid type bags. It's quick stuff. It's clot. It's to tie things off and drag people out. So we've been doing a lot of training with them in the last 2 years on that. We've used up some buildings in town and different things. We participated in, I believe last month we did a multi-town drill over the Burlington Mall on a Sunday night. So just having that type of interaction and experience will hopefully never be needed, but if it does, it will definitely pay dividends. I know when Mike was talking during his meeting, he was talking even like the planning sessions in town with the planning department through DRT, which is the design review team. We actively participate with, in that. And that allows us, as the properties are being developed, to get some word in. I've kind of always had the mentality is, as I'm finishing up a project, I don't want somebody to come in and say, you should have done this, this, and this, and this. So what we try to do with that is get as many of us on the same page and kind of come up with our thoughts at the planning stage, whether it's local builders or national builders come in and be able to kind of get some stuff on, because everything is so expensive, and obviously to fix something in the beginning, it's pennies as opposed to dollars. And that just kind of drives me nuts when I hear complaints about that type of stuff. So we really try to head some of that stuff off. As well as we have partnerships, obviously, with all the other town agencies, hydrant replacement program with the water department. We replace through a capital program, I believe, about 50 hydrants a year here in town, which is good. It's some hydrants that they're able to identify through the water department, and that we're obviously able to identify as we drape them. There's about 1,700, I believe, in town, give or take. And then over this last probably 3 years now, we've done a communication equipment upgrade here in town. We just actually put a new site out at Route 2 and 95. We were able to jump onto the state for a free lease to put the equipment up on their tower. And we're starting to improve with some wireless capabilities as well. Right now, our radio system goes through the fiber that the town has in their network. But if there's ever a catastrophic failure of a poles or anything like that, it kind of knocks the police and fire radios out. And we're starting to come up with some redundancy with wireless technology, where we're shooting from dish to dish, from the water tower out to Route 2 in Arlington, as well as to Route 2 and 95, and then that's going to come back to the new police station, if that passes later today. So we've worked very hard improving our mutual aid partnerships within our fire district, as well as our district handles 128 from Lynn down to Randolph, basically inside of 128. Every single community in that arch is District 13. And then once we go over to Bedford and Lincoln and Concord, they become separate districts. But we work very well with them as well. The State Forestry, State Fire Marshal's Office, Hazmat, Tech Rescue, we get that all brought in from the state level. And then we've obviously been building community support sport with Civic Cruise, like the Rotary. Carol's, junkyard, which is kind of, for us, it's a diamond in the backyard, which is fantastic. The amount of training that we're able to do down there, the realistic training. I remember when I first got on, Carol's would bring up cars in the back of the station. We could brake them, but we couldn't blow the tires out of them, and because he had to tow them back down to his shop. And what was nice is, after banging my head on his desk enough times, he created a little clearing down there, and what we do now is we go down there with our equipment, and they run cars over with front-end loaders and drop 18-wheelers and school. Actually, bus company. Dave Eagle. One day he said something to me one day, oh, you're down using trash trucks and all this stuff down at Carroll's. If there's anything I can do for you. And I go, if you get me a bus, that would be fantastic. And he goes, well, all the buses, when I get rid of them, are still good for other communities. So I kind of laughed about it. And he goes, let me see what I can do. And then Chief Wilson got a phone call, and it was from Johnny Carroll calling him up and yelling at him saying that Dave Eagle had onto his property. And the fire department was going to burn the bus on his property, and he said, "There's no way that anybody's putting a match on my property." And I was like, it was lost in translation. But we actually have a school bus up there, which is kind of cool, and they've towed it out. We did a bus drill for Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts in DeMolay. I think I was an assistant chief at the time over at the Clark School. We took the bus over on a half day. We flipped it over in the parking lot, and then we used all the kids. We got all the moulage, and we grouped them up. And actually, George Brunell, we killed him. He was the bus driver, and we covered his head with oatmeal and cherry pie filling. And that was his brain matter coming out, and it was. But it was good. And then we made, so we used the kids as all the victims, and they actually had, they got the props with, you pull their shirt up and you see a big gaping wound, and they'd have a bag of, fake blood ooze, and then the kids were awesome. And what we did is that tested us, because we told the guys that they were going to be doing a drill, but we wouldn't let them see it ahead of time. And then they all came responding in, and the Armstrong ambulance and them had helped participate with it as well. And then what was cool is they got merit badges for it, but they also got to see this, and then as soon as we brought them out as a victim, then we allowed them to come back and be first responders with us. So then they actually got to go in and help board George Brunell from the bus seat, and then they wanted to pass him out to the little roof hatch because it was on the side, so we did that. So there's a lot of little great things that we've done, and we've tried to reach out, and that's really worked out well. And then there's the silent stuff that nobody really knows about. It is like the property managers here in town, the commercial property. Whenever they've made changes or they've had vacant buildings, they've always opened them up to us for some large area training events. Not that we get to use them for a lot. And then obviously the local builders. I mean, there almost isn't a house in this town that gets torn down that doesn't get offered to us, which is fantastic. To be able to take somebody in, a firefighter brand new that, we were talking about this earlier. We all got on the job. We all knew how to dig holes. We knew how to rake grass. I think our video game was this. But that is lost. So people coming in, it was like we had the big saws and the rescue saws, and you try to teach that to the new personnel coming through the door, and then you found that they didn't even know how to run a cordless drill or a sawzall or change a blade, and that's just the way it is. But we've now had to kind of refocus our training onto that. Hiring is incredibly difficult. I think I've had not the same two spots, but I've had 2 spots for over a year that every time I hire, 2 more leave in this through. And it's to the point now where we've created a partnership with Professional Ambulance in Cambridge. They have a training program for paramedics, and our next 2 hires just sent their emails in Sunday to the Assistant Chief Ford that they had just finished their paramedic certification. We've already done their background checks. We've done everything. They're ready to go. Their physicals have been done. Their psyche done. We just needed them to get their paramedics. The problem is everybody's going paramedic right now in this business. It's Winchester's paramedic, Cambridge, Belmont, Bedford, Reading, Burlington, Dilworth. So Watertown, we're all drawing from the same pool of paramedics. And there's so many, and EMS is down 15%. The ambulance, there's such a shortage now anyhow, but when you're all grabbing for these same people, we were talking earlier, they're interviewing us, we're not interviewing them anymore. And it's made it very difficult. You've had people, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if this kid that said they passed yesterday came in a week and said, Chief, thanks, but I'm going somewhere. It's just, it's incredibly frustrating, but it's just the nature of the business right now, and we're just going to keep going. So, I know it's kind of just pop, but if there's now anything, any of you have specific, I can try to answer or a question about anything.
Chief, you said you talked about a lot of challenges that you face, and that you've been able to manage or are currently managing program. Have you talked amongst all of you about some future challenges that might be coming up that you might have to watch out for, on the horizon that are not presently problems, but could become problems later?
Yeah. As much as you don't want to look over the hill after the last 3 years to see what's coming next, you hope it's going to be better. Obviously, our biggest problem in the fire service, I think, is the experience level. Some of it is, like you said, I worked for landscapers, I was in trade school, it was, that was the lifestyle I had. With that, the trade school side of it's down, where people coming in, they don't have that hands-on ability to bang a hammer. It's got nail guns now. It's just some of those, they seem somewhat trivial, but when you kind of look at that as a whole, that's a big adjustment. When I got on the job, it was because I was the chief. That's why you're doing that. Well, now that doesn't work as much. It's, yeah, I'm the chief, but they want to know why. That type of thing, that becomes a bit of a challenge, which is fine. I mean, I'm adapting to any of that type of stuff, but the lack of experience, the fires and different things, you have less fires, but they're more intense. We get a lot of fires during the course of the year, but if we get them in the corner of the room, nobody ever hears about them. They hear about them when it's January 4th and it's 9 degrees and I'm standing down on 6 degrees on Maple Street at 4 in the morning, with Matt's house, and those are the ones that people see, and those are the shockers. But sometimes people can be on the job for years without getting to those, and then you have to try to prepare them. It's always like, it's that what if, or when this happens, and it's trying to keep everybody ready for that. The upgrading of technology, the equipment, it's trying to remember, everything used to be handles, you pulled handles, and then everything became electronic, and in this area of the country, electronics won't work. So we went back to all handles and equipment breaking down and things. But it's, I think part of it is just our biggest, issue going forward is learning curve and having such a young department. All the World War II vets are all gone. We lost another one, Wally Cup. Wally Cup just passed away the other day. His brother Steven's still alive. He called me. And I was like, oh, geez. And then Jimmy Catalano, and I said, hey, Jimmy, I went to school with Jimmy. And I'm like, those were a couple of 100-year-old guys there, But that whole crew of people, when I came on, they did it, all the time and different things. So, and now, saying to Cleve, probably since 16, probably almost 3/4 of the population changed over. So we just have, they're smart. We got, I got kids that if I have something on Excel, I just come over here for a second. I got a problem with this, and they're like, oh, get out of the way, chief. In 10 seconds, I have Excel sheets that are just doing more than I can imagine. It's been great. We actually were Lexington which was real nice. Had the very first female firefighter in Massachusetts for a fire department. She was the first female firefighter to graduate. You might have known her. Carol. No, Carol. So this was Ann Pastrich. So Ann Pastrich, so she was on in the 80s.
Before Carol Murphy?
Yep. So Carol was probably dispatcher back then, but they actually know each other. So I ended up finding Ann, social media-wise, she's down in North Carolina. It took me like 4 years to find her. And so as a department, we're trying to celebrate her, and we're going to add, so in the lobby of the fire station right now, there's, I don't know if many people have seen it, but there's a very old photo from May of 1921 down at the in front of Captain Parker of all the antique fire equipment. And it's an old, it's like 6-foot photo. And what we did is, in May of 2021, we went and redid it. So now in the lobby, we have these two photos exactly 100 years apart. But on one section of the wall, we're going to actually have a photo with Ann in it, being that she was the very first in the state and everything. She's almost 80 years old now, so I've talked to her a couple of times. But then we had Carol. Me and Carol were on the job together. We were ambulance partners. If she ever gets you in a side conversation, she'll tell you she kicked the crap out of me a couple of times in the firehouse. I still don't believe it.
She tells everybody.
Yep. And her only witness was Quinlan, so I think I'm safe right there for now. But yeah, she got me good one day. And then, but which is nice is like we have 4 female firefighters right now, and I think we've had 7 total. But Carol is start to finish. Carol has made an entire career out of it. And currently, right now, I have 4. And actually, my newest one, she just started maybe a month and a half ago. She was a Division I hockey player. She got drafted, played professional for the Boston Blades. So, yeah, she's
Carol's my classmate. Lexington High School.
Really?
Yeah. And Megan Murphy was in line to come up to be president. It's her niece.
So yeah, so Carol, like you said, Carol did a whole career. She still comes down to the firehouse. We still have some of the retirees come back every now and then. We'll do a dinner for them at night, different things like that. So it's real nice. But Carol, yeah, she made a whole career, which is nice to see.
Chief, what started this fire?
Boiler rights. Simple as that. And actually, he knew he had them, and he had laid them out for a couple of days. He had them laid out. Yep, and then he just figured, okay, after a few days, he thought they were good, put them in he had a small little dumpster.
Yeah, was that the one at Maples?
Yeah. So, yeah, that was, there's 2 fires that I pretty much regretted. One was Spring Street back in '99. It was up at the top of the hill there. Yep, the brick cave house there. That was like 4 degrees. I think just before, I was working that night, I was on the ambulance. And I think we went to the Diamond Middle School at like midnight for a fire alarm call, and I was like, oh, that's cold, we better not have to go to that. And then we came up to that one. And then I remember going to bed at Darren's house. And I said to my wife, I go, that phone rings tonight. 4 o'clock in the morning, my phone started ringing, I was cursing, and she's like, what's the matter? My phone's ringing. She's like, what? I go, my phone ringing at home it's never a good sign. So at 4 in the morning. And then when I pulled up, that was, and it was good, as bad as that was, it was a good save. Not really a lot of fire got into the house. It was garage burned and his attic burned, but he had a lot of nice collectibles and things like that in his house that were saved, which was very nice.
Get to renovate the whole house.
Yeah. And
He still doing it again.
Yep, so, but it's, he stopped down the firehouse a few times and everything, and, been very appreciative of it all. And that was, I think he probably got the record for the biggest cat in his town. We had the finest cat in the house, and it looked like a piece of luggage. It was so big. Yes?
Yeah, over 23 years, what year was the fire in Lexington? Because I remember that before.
So, with Mario's, where it stopped at Mario's, so the bakery.
That was in the 80s.
Yeah, so that was the 80s. Yep, that was another, I think it was another.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest ones, because I remember everything was built.
Yeah, silly, yeah. That was before my time, but I remembered maybe 10 years ago, another town calling up saying, hey, this guy's coming to, he wants to open up a bakery in their town. And they heard he had a fire in his bakery. And I was like, yeah, it was before my time. But yeah, I've had, when I was the shift commander, I had the plane crash over in Hanscom, that fatal crash back in 2014, 15 maybe. That was one of the nights I was working. And then if there was a major truck accident on the highway, that usually was me. I I think Susie Barry made an announcement at the select board meeting when I made assistant chief. It was, actually it was funny, is the night I was being introduced, I got promoted to assistant chief. There was still Fleck and Wilson. They promoted me on a Monday. They both went on vacation on Wednesday and said, we'll see you in 10 days, you're in charge. And I looked at Wilson and I said, he's like, you got any question? I said, yeah, crane. He says, what do you mean a crane? I go, I've used everything as a captain up to a crane. As an assistant chief, I could probably need to know how do I get in touch with a crane if I need a crane. And he went, he gave me his department credit card and said, rent it, don't buy it. And I said, okay. And then that following Monday, I was going to be introduced by Carl Valenti to the board. And I ended up in a house fire on the air base. It was 93 degrees out. And I used to do a lot of my training over there. They have a training facility, so I would, as the training officer, I was over there all the time. I showed up to this house fire. We had a crew over there. I'll stop over, just make sure the crews were okay. The Hanscom guys came out of the building, saw me in my Class A uniform, walked over, and just bear hugged me, and dragged soot and insulation all over me. And I'm like, I gotta go. And they're like, hands, gloves. And I'm like, so I called Carl on his cell phone. I'm like, look, I'm over here. I can't. And he's like, oh, we'll wait for you. Just show up. And I'm like, I'm out sitting in the town hall trying to clean. And I'm like, walked in smelling like smoke, and they just kind of laughed and went, this is about what we would expect. So, yeah. So it's been, it's a great town. I've spent more time in this town. I said that during my interview with getting hired as the chief. Is I've spent more time in this town than any other town that I've even lived in, so this is my community, which is nice, and we have a great department. We're supported very well, obviously, the new building and the equipment that we need, and as we go, so, yeah. So I have to thank you to all of you, so.
Chief, on behalf of your presentation to the Rotary Club, we're making a donation to Rotary International in the vaccination of 40 children. Always as soon as something's going on.
Which is actually that's very nice because my father had polio as well, so that's even nicer. So thank you.
Chief was always very progressive as far as training and everything, working together with the police departments, the state police, state fire marshal's office, so thank you for everything that you do for us. Last thing we have is the 50-50 raffle, please.
Hey, $20.
20? Oh, that's it. Oh my gosh, I waited around for that? I'm sorry, no disrespect, Chief, I'm sorry.
You have to bill us for it.
Do you two know how?
I know, really?
Well, he had to pay his fine, remember?
That's what I
Yeah, that's what it came out.
I mean,
$40.
we want more?
I wasn't listening to questions.
184.
No.
Give it to John.
No. Bob can keep it.
Okay, thank you very much. This concludes our meeting. Our next meeting will be back up at the Skull Club. It will be our installation meeting. Veronica will be taking over.
Yeah.
Now I'm going drinking.
Me too. Can we drink it?
Go.
That's the end of the meeting.